You know, I've noticed a strange trend with Rare. Their games piss me off. Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Battletoads, and now Snake, Rattle, and Roll. And we're gonna play it until we win. Snake, Rattle, and Roll is an isometric platformer featuring two snakes, Rattle and Roll, who must eat enough nibbly-pibblies in order to open a door in each stage while avoiding manhole covers, sharks, and giant feet. Yeah, the game's kinda nuts. Staying alive in this one isn't the easiest thing in the world. While the first few levels are relatively easy, levels 4 on up are a bit difficult, and the later levels are just downright sadistic. Aside from having to catch the annoying colored balls, you have to do it in increasingly difficult ways, like trying to catch flying pibblies on a platform of ice while trying to avoid falling off the map and getting crushed by a big foot. But we'll get to that in a bit. First things first, here are my tips that are going to help you stay alive. The controls in this game take a bit of getting used to. They're very loose, and the usual up, down, left, right controls in an isometric point of view can be a little weird, especially when you grab a power-up that inverts your controls. Don't forget that this game is a platformer, so you're going to need to get used to not only how you jump, but how far you can jump, and you need to learn how far you can move while in the air. This isn't a physics simulation, so you've got a lot of leeway when it comes to moving while in the air. Get used to how your snake moves on different surfaces, because you'll be spending most of this game on surfaces that move you in different ways, like water and ice. Don't forget that you have a strict time limit, 99 ticks for each level. There are clocks in each level that you can get to extend your time, but it ticks away faster than you'd like it to. Most enemies can be killed by simply lashing them with your tongue, but don't waste too much time trying to kill every single enemy, because some of them take way too many hits to be worth it. Alright, level 1 is pretty simple. Just keep heading to the right, and eventually you should come across a machine spitting out balls. Keep eating them until your snake has a full tail. You'll know it's full when the tail is flashing. Keep going to the right until you reach a weigh-in scale. Jump on it without getting crushed by the big giant foot, and the door should open. Enter the door, go to level 2. Level 2 is also relatively easy, although you'll have a few more obstacles in your way, like jumping mushrooms. In this stage, you should find a few tongue power-ups. These make your snake's tongue longer, allowing you to eat the bouncing balls from further away. Again, keep heading to the right until you come across two machines that spit out the colored balls. Eat them until your snake is full and head to the right. You'll come across your first difficult section of the game, getting across the waterfall. Jumping across is pretty simple, just don't wind up on the water and you'll be fine, but the next jumping part requires that you jump diagonally up to get to the weigh-in station, and then to the door. It's tricky, but you can do it without too much practice. Level 3 immediately starts you off crossing more waterfalls. Just take your time and you should make it across without any problems. Go to the left, eat some more balls, and then head down and you'll have to make your first really difficult jump. Just pull another diagonal jump, you'll be okay. You should be able to head through the rest of the stage relatively unharmed, maxing out your snake's weight along the way. Just remember not to fall off the side of the level. Although you really shouldn't need me reminding you not to jump off the side of the level. Level 4 is where things start getting out of hand. You're immediately faced with more than a few jumps that are just unfair. You'll have to practice a few of these jumps before you can make them time and again. Make it past the jumps, fill up on the snake bits, and make your way past the waterfall. If you're quick, you should be able to simply fall off the side and hit the ledge. Once you make that jump, you'll need to carefully make your way across multiple levels, as razor blades like to come out and try to cut you in half. I like to consider it the Lorena Bobbitt of Snake, Rattle, and Roll. Yeah, that's right, I just made a horrible 90s reference. What? You'll have to be careful though, because if you get hit once, you won't be able to make it past the weigh-in station. Of course, actually getting to the weigh-in station is a bit of a problem, as a bunch of anvils are trying to clobber you. They fall in a pattern, but learning that pattern means getting clobbered over and over again, and that doesn't sound like fun. Just pay attention to what I do in the video, you should be alright. After you weigh in, quickly make your way back across the stream of anvils and jump across the waterfall to reach the door. And now you get to experience the joys of riding a magic carpet in Snake, Rattle, and Roll. Yes, this level is filled with flying carpets, and you're going to need to be precise with your jumping. Let me tell you this. Every single jump on a carpet you make will have to be precise. The easiest way to line up your jump is to wait until the carpet is at its closest point to you and see if it's adjacent to the square you're on. If it's not exactly adjacent, adjust your position and wait for the carpet to return. There are 3 really difficult jumps you need to make in this level. The first jump is to a carpet hovering over spikes. Timing your jump here is pretty difficult because the carpet doesn't stop next to the platform you're on, which means you'll have to jump over a small gap to land on the carpet. The next carpet isn't that hard to get on, it's just that at the end of it there's a reverse controls power-up in your way, and you have almost no way of avoiding it. So if you immediately stop moving when you make your second jump, you won't fall into the endless pit. If you're like me, however, you're going to grab the power-up, not realize what you did, and then commit suicide. The final difficult jump comes near the end of the stage. You'll once again be forced to take a magic carpet across a bunch of spikes. The difficult part here is that the carpet likes to disappear. You'll have to jump into the air to avoid falling to your death, but it's not that easy. The carpet doesn't move close enough to the other edge of the platform to make this an easy jump. So not only do you need to jump to avoid falling off the carpet, you also need to make a very long jump. Do all this, and you'll move on to level 6. Level 6 starts you off with making some simple jumps across a waterfall. Well, they would be simple if you had room to move, but you've got some very limited space, so you're gonna have to be careful if you don't want to fall off the edge. There's also a couple of bells in your way. They can be taken care of by either attacking them with your tongue or jumping on them like a Goomba. After 2 bells and a couple of jumps across the waterfall, you'll have to make your way past 4 more bells. Now, if you don't want to run out of time, then don't spend your time trying to kill the bells. Simply jump past them. Continue moving to the left, and eventually you'll come across a bunch of jumps you need to make with bells landing on random squares. You're not going to die so much as be eternally confused with what you have to do. And it's actually really simple. You need to climb up the waterfall on your left. How? By moving directly on it and hitting the jump button. Make your way up the waterfall, jump across the gap, and carefully make your way down the stair-like obstacle with the Bigfoot threatening to crush you. Now, getting in the door in this level is easy. Don't jump off, just fall off the ledge. Level 7 is difficult, to say the least. You'll start off having to jump diagonally across a waterfall and then avoid deadly spikes that appear as you move. The only way past this part is either to kill the spikes, which takes too much time, or jump diagonally. You'll eventually move your way to 2 spikes that move around quickly. You can kill these relatively easily, just be careful with your jumps because landing in the water is a death sentence. The second section of this part is exactly the same as the first, only in reverse. The second section of this part is exactly the same as the first, only in reverse. What a weird sentence. Anyway, just take your time and don't fall off the edge, otherwise you're as good as dead. The next section is a bit tough as you've got killer bowling balls of various colors speeding at you. There's no trick here, you've just got to be faster than the falling balls. Now the section after that, well, let me just say that this is one of those hair-pulling moments. You're not gonna die so much as go bald from, trying to time your jumps. The idea here is that you've got water spouts that you've got to use to get to the next platform. The problem is that your timing has to be perfect to make it up and past this section. The best way to time your jumps is to actually jump on top of the water spout slightly after it appears. It sounds weird, but the game gives you some leeway here. You're still going to get the boost to the next level even if you're not pushed up from the bottom of the spout. I'm not gonna lie though, this part's not easy. Oh, and if you do finally manage to get past the water spouts, don't get greedy and try to kill the foot. You'll hate yourself for it. If level 7 was difficult, then level 8 will make you despise humanity. The level itself isn't difficult, you don't have a lot of really hard sections to jump your way through, but it is time consuming. So much so that you'll more than likely run out of time before you accidentally fall off a ledge and die. Here's the thing, you've got to float through a bunch of pools eating your pibblies until you max out your length and open a door. Every time you get out of the water, all of your pibblies fly away, and you have to jump into another pool of water and do it all again. The only thing that makes this hard is the fact that this is a 2D game simulating a 3D environment in an isometric perspective. It makes judging distances and height nearly impossible. You'll spend more time trying to eat pibblies than actually eating them, and that means running out of time and burning a life, which is not exactly a good thing. There aren't a lot of traps in this level, save for one. After you exit the last pool, you'll be thrown off the side of a waterfall. Now that's just mean-spirited. Of course, level 9 makes up for the lack of death traps and is just horribly, horribly difficult. You want to know how hard this level is? Well, check this out. I have over 9 hours of game footage for Snake, Rattle, and Roll. 6 of them are dedicated to levels 9 and 10. So, level 9 is all ice, which is something you haven't had to deal with up to this point. The entire game, up until now, has been water and grass. And now you've got to deal with ice, and yes, it's the typical slippery ice. There are 2 types of ice blocks, square ones, which let you move normally, just with a little bit of added momentum, and slanted ones, which force you to fall off the side of the map. Dealing with the ice in this level is unpleasant. You almost always have to constantly move in 2 directions, forward and away from the slant. It makes life interesting. Of course, there are sections of level 9 that are just outright death traps, like this part, where a large snowball keeps falling down an ice hill, which instantly kills you if it touches you. Once you manage to get that bit of timing down, you'll have to make a nasty jump over a set of spikes, and then try to feed on the flying pibblies while running around on ice being chased by a gigantic Monty Python foot. Oh, and unless you've got some amazing ability to mash the B button, don't bother trying to kill the foot. It takes way too many hits and eats up too much time. You're gonna need to practice this section quite a bit before you're able to sound the bell on the way station. Look, it's not that this part is particularly hard, it's just that the pibbly fuckers fly around and intentionally avoid you. It also doesn't help that they tend to just float off the edge, teasing you with their pibbly goodness. The best method of getting past this part is to hang out on one square and eat the pibblies as they're shot out of the machine. It'll make avoiding the foot immeasurably easier, except it's still not easy because you've got to get to the door. Now you've got to climb up a nice slope, avoid a bubble, grab the clock, and avoid yet another falling snowball. I don't know what's being tested here more, my timing or my patience. Avoiding the snowball is one thing, but you've got to do it slowly because you're on a downward slope, and if you go too fast, you're simply going to fall off the edge. And then you get to climb back up again, avoiding another bubble, and then rush down another slope while trying to avoid another snowball. And then you've got to make a miracle jump and then climb to the door. And damn, is it hard! Now, sometimes developers will put the pedal to the metal in the middle section of the game, and then sort of back off for the final few stages, just so you can actually beat the game and feel like you accomplished something. Not rare. No, these motherfuckers don't have a heart. In fact, I think the people who developed this game were made of pure, dehydrated evil. If you took Silver Surfer, Battletoads, and Mega Man and put them into Ronco food dehydrator, what would you end up with? Well, melted plastic. I mean, what? Did you think I was gonna put up a clip of Ron saying tasty beef jerky? Well, so did I, but that fucking clip is impossible to find. The hardest part of the game is next, of course. Level 10. Oh, how I hate thee. Let me count the ways. You start off on a straightaway with an ominous-looking sloped edge. Go straight and avoid the various ice cubes and bubbles in your way, then start climbing down. And man, good luck. You'll have to be extra careful on the way down because almost every straightaway is on a sloped edge, which means you'll end up falling on spikes, dying, and then trying to beat the level again. Eventually, you'll come to a part that's similar to Stage 9. You're on a block of ice, avoiding a big giant foot while trying to eat your pibblies. Only the block of ice is much smaller, the foot is much faster, and the pibblies like to fly off screen. Oh, and did I mention that the weigh-in scale is a corner nestled between 2 hills of ice? I wouldn't call this the easiest section of the game. A good strategy here is to basically run away from the foot while trying to grab pibblies, because killing the foot is out of the question. It takes way too much time, and time is something you don't have enough of here. You can also stand in the middle of the ice block and the foot won't hit you, but you'll be hard-pressed to grab any Pibblies at all. The worst part of this section is that while you will have to try it over and over again, I can't even use my catchphrase because there's something even more sinister up ahead. After you eat enough Pibblies and manage to weigh in, trust me, it's harder than it sounds, your next objective is to climb up a hill made of ice. This is significantly more difficult than you think. You have to jump over spike pits, avoid snowballs, and do both of that while on edges that are sloped away from you. There are points in this section where you'll literally just send your snake over the edge into its death because you've given up. Hell, if you're lucky enough to get past one part of the ice hill, the next part is guaranteed to piss you off because it's twice as difficult. But the climb up the hill is nothing compared to the very last section before you reach the level door. This is Rare's crowning achievement of bullshit. First off, good luck getting to this ledge because you have to avoid a snowball while running on a straightaway that's sloped towards a pit of spikes. On top of that, you've got to jump to another sloped ledge just to get to a level block of ice. Then you got to climb up individually sloped blocks of ice, only to somehow leap to a door that's floating in the middle of a fucking wall. Yeah, that's right. Not only do you have to somehow climb up the impossible to climb ledge, you've then got to make a miracle leap that not even Jesus Christ himself could make to a door floating in the middle of nowhere. And you've got to do all of this without any depth perception because the fucking shadow you use to gauge your position in 3D is off screen during your leap. Yeah, you're gonna die. A lot. Why? Why does this exist? This is the epitome of evil. I mean, you have loose controls, a 3D world with a 2D isometric perspective, no depth perception, and absolutely no reason for the player to try and beat this game. I mean, the story here is you're a snake, go eat shit. There's no puzzles, nothing to stimulate your brain. It's just a stupid snake dying over and over and over again. Why do this? Why bother trying to beat it? Because it's a fucking game and it must be beaten. That's why. There's no trick to getting past this last part of the level. It's all about timing, placement, and platforming skill. Well, if you're having trouble, there is a little cheat you could take advantage of. If you die when you're on the third or fourth ice block of the hill, you'll respawn closer to the top, making the jump that much easier. Of course, you need to have a couple of extra lives left in order to pull that off, and by this time, you're more than likely out of extra players. I wish I could tell you that doing this is actually simple if you do X, Y, or Z, but no. You're probably gonna play through this game a few times before you luck out and get even remotely close to the door. And what happens after level 10? Did you beat the game? No! You have to kill a giant foot with a flag stuck in it while avoiding 2 large boulders. Great. This is actually a lot trickier than it sounds because the foot takes a lot of damage and you have a limited amount of time, and judging your distance from the boulders is very difficult. Your main objective should be to inflict as much damage on the foot as possible, then avoid all of the obstacles on the screen. Just remember that touching the foot will hurt you, and getting squashed by the foot or boulders will instantly kill you. Keep it up though, and you'll get the best Rare ending ever. An advertisement for a sequel that was never made. That's just Rare's way of taking your money and lovingly kicking you in the nuts. But Rare isn't the only company known for kicking gamers in the nuts, now are they?